Hey, what's going on, Black people? What's happening? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and today we have an interesting development in New York City. New York, apparently, the state of New York is firing thousands and thousands of workers at midnight tonight, and they're firing them because they won't get the jab. And you know what I mean? It's the what the jab is, and they're even calling in the National Guard to deal with these worker shortages. And so, my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia, and I we're sitting here. We were thinking about what we wanted to cover on our next pillow talk, and I think this is a big deal because a lot of people, thousands of people, are losing their jobs. How you doing, babe?
I'm doing not so well with this news, actually. And I mean, I'm just curious, is this going to be a trend with other states? I mean,
Yeah,
do we have that much of a national guard that they can just come in and save these states?
man. If I was in the National Guard, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, wait a
It's your
minute.
job.
Did everybody in the National Guard get the shot?
Ha.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know if people connected to the military, they already know they don't have a choice. So a lot of times they just get their jabs and they don't really put up so much of a protest because they're supposed to be told what to do.
yeah. Carnita
Uh-huh.
says that it's medical apartheid.
Yeah, it is medical apartheid. That's awful
Yeah, I know, right?
to force people to do that. Even though they said they would take a test,
Test, yeah.
they said I'll take a test. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I just do not want that jab.
Yeah. So, how many of you knew that New York State was firing thousands of workers at midnight tonight? Give me a yes or no in the chat if you were aware of what's been going on. A lot of people are talking about it. The state of New York is literally firing like thousands of healthcare workers, thousands of, I think, was it healthcare workers? Was it police officers? Maybe. I don't know if it was police officers.
Is it
But
federal workers or?
I know that in Massachusetts, a lot of state troopers resigned because they wouldn't get the shot. Um, yeah, I'll read some of this to you guys. Give me a yes in the chat. Let me know if you can still hear me. I'm switching to a different screen. I want to read so we can all be sort of updated on this. And by the way, I'm gonna try not to say the V word, so we got to find other ways to say the V word, and so we'll say like jabbed or got the shot, stuff like that. So let me know if you guys can still hear me. Just say I can hear you in the chats. All right. So this is according to WABC. They said New York State's mandate for healthcare workers took effect Monday, leaving hospitals and nursing homes across New York braced for the prospect of severe staff shortages fueled by workers getting suspended or fired for refusing to be inoculated. Officials say 84% of state workers are fully jabbed up, with thousands still thought to be holding out. Administrators prepared contingency plans that included cutting back on non-critical services and limiting admissions to nursing homes. Now here's what I want to ask. This is the part, babe, and give me your thoughts on this. I thought that they said all the hospitals are like, oh, that the healthcare system was on the brink of complete collapse because there were so many COVID patients and
Yeah, I heard that they weren't. I was listening to NPR today, and they were saying that they're going to cease delivering babies. I don't know how that's possible. What are you gonna tell a baby? Just stay right on in there. We don't have anyone to deliver you right now. I don't know how you're gonna do that, but
so they're mad
golly,
because in Texas they stopped abortions, but now they're
this
like,
is.
but we're gonna stop deliveries too. So what are you gonna do with your baby?
I mean, this
How
is
about we
really.
just stop the existence of the human race? Would that make them feel better?
This is a standoff. This is a standoff right now.
Yeah,
We
and
are
and and
drawing the line in the
and
sand.
I'm gonna tell you, my whole position on getting that shot is my answer is none yet. I don't know. Y'all know about my Nunya policy. Type Nunya in the chat because Nunya is the answer. When people ask me, boys, did you get the shot or not get the shot? I say Nunya because
Hmm.
it's my body, my right.
Yeah,
Like,
my
like,
body, my choice. What happened to that?
yeah, well, that went out the window. That ended quickly. Yeah. My answer is Nunya, none of your goddamn business. Like it's you make your decision. And here's the thing: like, if I don't get that shot, how in the hell am I putting you in danger? Like, who created that narrative? I'm sorry. I know I'm not trying to. I know different people in this room make different choices about whether they got the shot or not. In fact, you and I don't even, our answer is none, yeah.
None,
But
yeah.
people want to know what
Okay.
our family chose to do, but our family, we have a mix. We have some people in our family went one way, some went the other way. And, but I'm trying to figure out who created that bullshit narrative that if I don't get the shot, I'm somehow endangering other people.
Putting
When when
everybody else in
when
jeopardy.
when everybody can catch the virus, everybody can pass it. So how the hell is me not having the shot doing anything other than screwing me?
Well, people are saying it's political. What do you think about that?
It is political.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they took science and made it into politics.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did. They made it a Democrat Republican thing where you can tell a person's opinion by what political party they belong to.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Democrat, you automatically feel a certain way. If you're a Republican, you probably feel a certain way. And I think that is ridiculous. I'm utterly shocked that they would let our country become that divided and literally try to alienate millions of people like that.
I don't know how they're gonna get away with this. Honestly, I don't know how they're gonna do it. And it's like a showdown at the OK Corral. That movie I've been
It
watching
is.
for the past couple of days. It's Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday going against
You were
the
really. Is
bandits.
that what you were doing while I was gone? So
Yeah, I watched it.
I leave the city for a couple of days and you start watching old cowboy movies with white men in them.
I
Like,
like
what's going on with that?
Western movies. Really interesting.
Really?
It's a showdown. It's that's what's
That is
happening
so
right now.
crazy that you're my wife and I had no idea that you watch this stuff when I'm not there. See, fellas, you gotta watch out. Your women be doing crazy stuff when you're out of town.
Yeah, but I'm happy to have you back.
Well,
I'm
I'm glad
happy
to
to
be
have you
back.
back.
I went to Baltimore and had a great time. They got a Black Wall Street down there. They have some really cool,
Were people
amazing black
wearing a
people.
mask down in? Because we went
No,
to. They
there
weren't.
there was some. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
What I loved about my people in Baltimore. Like when I say my people, my
Mm-hmm.
city, because I'm claiming Baltimore. I love that place. When I was there, you just saw freedom of expression. You saw
Ah.
you saw everybody had their own approach. Nobody asked anybody, "Did you get the shot? Did you not get the shot?" Nobody got into all of that. Also, so one person might be wearing a mask, somebody else might not be wearing a mask, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody stigmatized anybody
Yeah.
for their personal choice. And I just feel like that's the right approach.
Uh huh. Yeah, I do too.
It,
Mm.
it felt right. And I'll just tell you because I'm gonna tell you, white people crazy, man.
You gotta play that song, "White People
White
Crazy."
people crazy.
White people, they crazy.
I'm playing
No,
it.
but that's
Well,
the
not well.
thing.
The
That's
crazy
the
white people are
thing.
crazy. Not all white people. Go ahead.
There's a lot of white people that are totally against getting government stabs.
That's so true.
So it's their fight, and we're caught in the middle of it again.
That's a good point. I mean, they do, and you're right. There are people who are not black who are also just saying, "I'm not interested in that." And what what really made me think hard was when I saw this whole thing they on the hill.com. The Hill is a mainstream outlet.
Mm.
The Hill's not, fringe. And there was a lady on the Hill who told the whole story about how Dr. Fauci handled the AIDS crisis. Did I ever tell you about that?
Oh gosh. Okay, tell us about that because that's an interesting
Yeah,
story.
y'all got to go check this out. It was real. It really made me pause. And what it did was it made me reflect on what happens when you move too quick, when you try to handle stuff too fast. So when AIDS came out and they didn't know what it was, they made two critical errors. And Dr. Fauci and his crew were a part of this. One, they started telling the public that AIDS could be passed like through a toilet seat. That if somebody
That's
touches you and they got
right.
it, you can get that because they didn't
We
understand it.
wouldn't give people a hug if they had
Yeah,
HIV/AIDS.
and
Mm-hmm.
that whole myth kind of went. It took a long time for that to go away. Because
Mm-hmm.
remember when Magic played in the All-Star game, there was a big deal. Karl Malone was like, "I'm not gonna play with him because."
His sweat can get on you,
Right,
and there you
right.
go. His.
hmm
Mhm.
And then check this out. Another interesting thing they did. They made three big errors. The second one was they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have the race to the vaccine." Because we're white and white people are God and we can do anything if we put $1 billion behind it. So they literally went to this race to create a vaccine, not knowing.
That's bad.
Here it is. What is it? 30 years later, and
Mm.
40 years later since they discovered AIDS, and ain't no vaccine for AIDS. It's still out there. AIDS is like, you better quit thinking.
AIDS. We don't even. Do you know anybody who has HIV/AIDS? I don't know anybody that. Well, I don't know.
Whatever.
People tell me, but I don't even know anyone.
Well,
Actually, no. I take
well,
that
no, no,
back. I
no.
know one
Well,
person
there are people that have it.
that don't say
Well, people
anything.
don't exactly announce it. They don't wear T-shirts
Okay.
saying they, I mean, I don't think that would be something people would just like.
But at one point, like you see someone with AIDS, you think they were just kind of like a leper, just walking around, limping around
Yeah,
somewhere. But
and
that's
that
not the
wasn't right. It
case.
took a long time for them to learn, right? To
Yeah.
learn what it was about. And then the third crucial mistake they
Hmm.
made was because they were in such a rush. And I see big pharma. Big pharma loves they're able to make big money off a big crisis. Anything that scares the hell out of people, they rush to say, "Oh, we got the solution. We got the solution." So they all got behind AZT. And AZT
Oh,
was a horrible drug. AZT was killing
it was
people,
killing people.
and but they were
Mhm.
behind it because the government wrote $1 billion checks like they're doing now. And
Mm.
also anybody, including educated, highly educated doctors, who said, look, this stuff is not helping my patients, it's killing them, they shut those people down. Now
Mhm.
tell me that does not sound just like what we're doing right now.
And it's not working. That's why we have to get a booster. They're pushing for this booster shot for certain groups of people. It's going to be for everybody. You know it is.
Well, that
Mhm.
is true. Yeah, boosters and all kinds of
Cuz
stuff. I
it's
mean,
not working.
yeah, well, and I was thinking about it a lot because I was when I was in Baltimore, I stayed across the street from Johns Hopkins Hospital,
Ah.
and I thought about Henrietta Lacks, and you teach a whole class in Henrietta Lacks.
Well, I teach a research class, but how can you teach a research class and research ethics and not talk about Henrietta
Oh, that's
Lacks?
right. Henrietta Lacks is that's like a module in your class,
Well,
like.
no, they have to read the whole book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they have
That's
a
good.
discussion on it. It's not a
Oh,
module. I mean, it's just an online discussion that we do.
but you give props to Henrietta.
Oh, for sure.
Yes,
I
yes.
almost want to have them like it's just sad. That whole story is just sad. And I think that like her whole family, maybe something's happening right now, but her whole family is still living in poverty for the most part.
Yeah, and I think that
And it's
that's.
$1 billion industry built off of her sales that was taken
Mm,
illegally.
yeah, and I think about
Hmm.
Henrietta Lacks. I was thinking about Henrietta Lacks. I was looking at Johns Hopkins, thinking about Henrietta Lacks, and thinking about everything that's happening now, and why Black people have every reason, every right in the world to not trust the healthcare system.
Yeah, it's healthy. It's called healthy paranoia.
Healthy paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's an actual term.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
survival mechanism for all of us to be paranoid about what's going on because of the Tuskegee experiment and forced sterilizations and the Henrietta Lacks story and that whole entire feeling around John Hopkins Hospital and the
Mm-hmm.
research that went on Black people. I mean, you could just go on forever.
Ooh, Johns
Yeah,
Hopkins got a lot of they
yeah,
got a lot of skeletons in their closet, don't they?
yeah. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
and what's really
Hmm.
crazy too, and this is something people won't talk about. Like just speaking specifically on Johns Hopkins, but it's happening all around the country. So my boys are Jabari and Sundiata, who gave me that awesome necklace from Ghana. They gave you a bracelet. I gotta give
Oh,
it
I
to
got something for
you.
you.
Yeah, it's in my bag. Remind me to get it for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they were telling me about how Johns Hopkins is going through the hoods that used to be black, all black, and they because the universities are making so much money through student loans, which again, black wealth is dropping because of student loans.
Oh.
They are gentrifying black neighborhoods. They're buying up entire blocks, city blocks in black neighborhoods and putting the black people out, spreading them out, to God knows where, and taking all this property.
Well, all universities do that.
Yeah, they're all doing it right, and that's another massive wealth transfer. And those are the little things that we don't talk about when we talk about the racial wealth gap and how
Interesting.
these people are, they didn't just do the things that they did in the past in terms of the medical uh, crap that they did to us, Tuskegee experiment and all that, but they're still doing stuff to us now. They're still taking things away from us now in
Mm,
broad daylight.
very interesting. That's an interesting trip you had. How
Yeah.
was your speech and everything? How did it all go for you?
Oh, I loved it, and it's Reality Speaks. That's the name of the
Ah,
organization, and
okay.
they Jabari has this barbershop in Baltimore that everybody should check out called Conscious Heads Barbershop, and his friend Sundiata, I hope I said it right, has another barbershop called Reflection Eternal, and their
Wow.
barbershops and going into their barbershops really made me reflect on the deep, rich culture of the barbershop in the black community.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
just how much that means for us. And like, I mean, their barbershops were like, you felt like you're walking into like some sacred, spot.
Oh.
Like they had this amazing imagery of great historical figures. Like you felt like you was gonna walk in and just be smarter by being in the room.
Oh, that is really cool. It's
Yeah.
the conversations that happen in the barbershop.
Oh
They're
yeah, for
just like are
sure.
the best.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
and they invite a lot of Jabari and his guys created avenues for a lot of black speakers that are not mainstream, because when you get
Mm.
too black and too authentically black, white people don't want nothing to do with that. They're scared of that, right? So he would have Francis Cress Welsing come through. He was talking about, he had this podium that was 26 years old, and he said this Francis Cress Welsing has spoken at this podium many times.
Oh,
Dick Gregory has spoken
Dick
several times.
Gregory.
Yeah, even even in the beginning, I shouldn't even mention it, but even Umar, like Umar, he said Umar used to come down there a lot. Back when Umar was, nobody knew who he was. He was trying to get his
Okay.
name out there. He said then things changed over time, but he, he's not all bad. He's got some
I'm
smart
sure
things to say.
he delivered a great speech at that
He's
podium.
one of the best speakers I've ever heard, and
Yeah.
I'll give him props on that. And who else? Of course, was it Leonard Jeffries and
Oh, Leonard
your
Jeffries.
boy Tony Browder, just like
Anthony Browder,
Anthony
man, he
Browder,
is so smart.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I love them because they create that like almost like a Chitlin circuit kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
black speakers can go and get a crowd, make money, and connect with the community, and that kind of thing. And
That's cool. And D. Boyce Watkins spoke at that podium.
D. Boyce Watkins.
Yes.
Well, I don't know about all that, but
D. Boyce Watkins spoke at that podium.
well, I was there. I was there. But you know what?
Okay,
let me
let's
stop
get
you.
back on
Okay,
topic.
hey, by the way, do me a favor, guys. If you could, please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button. And if you're not familiar with the show, Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia is where my wife and I get on social media and we do pillow talk. We literally lay against our pillow like we're doing right now. And we just talk about whatever comes to mind. And so today we were talking about the fact that New York State is going to fire thousands and thousands of workers because they won't get the jab, which is absolutely crazy.
OMG,
So
so all these people got their pink slips today.
yeah, yeah, and they were talking about bringing in the National Guard to replace them. I'm really wondering how this is going to play out, right? And also the interesting thing is that different states have different rules, right? So I think that what you're going to really start seeing is like a civil war.
Oh, yes. You
Hmm.
think people are going to move out and go to like a state that's a little more friendly?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
so
that's
we're
what
going to
we're.
be the divide. We're not going to be United States. We're going to be divided states.
Yeah, the U.S. is very divided, and I think it's intentional. I
Ah.
think that the Chinese have done certain things, like we do things in China to create division there. I think they do things here to create division here. The Russians and the
Ooh,
Chinese.
starting up chaos.
Yeah,
Operation
and
Chaos in
and
the
I can
United
tell
States.
you, we're taking the All Black National Convention. We were gonna do it in New York, and I said I don't want to take the risk. So we're
Oh.
gonna go. So we decided to go down to Orlando, and by the way, if anybody wants to go to the convention, it's gonna be in Orlando the weekend of October 29th, and we're gonna talk about all of this. Dr. Christina Parks, who did that excellent testimony.
Oh, is she coming?
Yes, Dr.
Oh,
Parks.
I'd love
Dr.
to
Parks
talk
will
to
be
her.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also we want to take a different policy approach that's different from the government, where we want to encourage people to do the things necessary to be healthy, period.
Yeah.
If your immune system is strong and you're taking care of your body, I mean, if you have any, there's never been a time where it was more urgent for you to start taking your health seriously. If your immune system's strong, that to me is the only thing you have that is guaranteed to protect you
Mm-hmm.
from a virus like that. People with strong immune systems are not the ones who are going down. It's the people with all those pre-existing conditions. And I don't know if y'all saw brother Nuri Muhammad, how he made that funny little meme. He's going to be there, by the way, and he's going to
Oh,
give a keynote. Did you see brother Nuri Muhammad's little
no. What
meme
did you put up?
where he I put it up on my Instagram, which is the
Oh.
real Boyce Watkins, and he said, "Dear melanated people, practice social distancing from these places that are selling pre-existing condition combo meals." And so he mentioned
Ah.
he had the logos. One is a white casket, instead of White Castle. Uh, Murder King
Yeah.
instead of Burger King. McDevil's, Chick-fil-A. Get it? Chick-fil-A, Chick-fil-A.
Uh-huh.
Long John
Wait,
Killers.
wait, wait, not Chick-fil-A. I can't eat there.
I know.
Wait, that dry
I'm gonna report you to
I
Neri
can't
if I
take
catch you
it.
at Chick-fil-A.
That juicy chicken can't be bad for you.
Long John Killers and Taco Hell. I thought that was pretty creative.
Yeah,
Neri's a
that was
brilliant guy.
creative, but
Yeah,
he
Neri's gonna speak at
I'm
the
mad at him
convention, by the
now.
way.
He can't be attacking Chick-fil-A. No, he's right. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. I
Well,
mean, that's real,
I
that's the
mean,
real issue.
we know. I mean, I'm sorry. I have mad respect for the Nation of Islam. Like, I just think I think they have it right.
Yeah.
If we could make the whole black community do what the Nation of Islam does, nobody could compete with us. We'd be on top of the world. Now don't get me wrong. We know the nation ain't perfect. There's been stuff, right? Rumors, talk, or whatever. But I think overall, like if you give me, I would go to war any day of the week. If you gave me the baddest brothers of the Nation of Islam and they were standing next to me, I know I cannot fail. I know that
Mm-hmm.
there's a certain type of structure. There's a certain type of commitment. They are committed to all the things that make you successful. Health, intelligence, wealth building, black independence, self-love, family, community. If I was a black woman, I would feel very, very protected if there were Nation Islam brothers around, because
Mm-hmm.
they're not gonna sit around, smoking blunts and holding a cell phone, watching somebody beat your ass. Like
Well, they're
they're
just
gonna jump in.
honorable. They're
They're
very
honorable.
honorable.
They're like the soldiers for the black community in certain ways.
Yeah, I used to, for some reason I would go to like some events where the nation would be providing security,
Hmm.
and it would just be like the most peaceful event ever.
Yeah,
It was
everybody
like
everybody feels good when the
they
nation's in the
respect
building.
them.
Yeah, I mean it's just so I was very happy to integrate and bring in like brothers and sisters from the nation to be part
Mm-hmm.
of the All Black National Convention. Like Nuri Muhammad's going to speak there, Riza Islam's going to be there, Akila Nihunda is going to be there. Now Vicky Diller's not in the nation anymore, but Vicky will be there. She carries a lot of those same values, and there's others. And I know Dr. Wesley Muhammad was coming. I don't think he could make it, and I feel like I'm missing somebody. But just really, yeah, the NOI is the best. I'm not gonna let nobody speak bad about the
Mm-mm.
NOI, about Farrakhan, none of that. You're not doing that on my watch. Say
Mm-hmm.
what you want, but you think what you want, feel what you want. But that's something I'm not deviating from. But yeah, so it looks to me like
And here's the thing, it's not like these healthcare workers can't find jobs in other places.
mm-hmm.
Because there's such a shortage of healthcare workers. It's like, oh, you don't want to, you letting me go? Okay, I can find somewhere else,
Well,
somewhere else to go.
I thought all the hospitals were like overloaded and they can't.
Yeah,
Ain't that
this is not the
ain't that
time
funny?
to like place a war on your workers.
Right, right. Well, think about this.
When you're dying for workers right now.
Well, remember at the beginning of the pandemic, the healthcare workers were the heroes.
Yeah, I thought they were the heroes. Like,
You ain't a hero no more because you won't get our shot. That's it.
mm,
Like, I mean, seriously, like they were heroes a year and a half ago. Now it's like, get your ass out of here. You're not doing what we tell you. You're not conforming. So you're not. We don't care about you anymore.
well, I think this is very important. I think we should pay attention to this, boys. It would be really interesting to see how this all plays out. Who's gonna fold?
Well,
Who is is the industry gonna, hospitals are gonna say, you know what, this is too much, we're gonna have to go back, we
and
just got to go back to something else, or are
mhm,
they just gonna stand their ground?
kind of stop believing Dr. Fauci when he keeps telling us that everybody's going to die if we try to live our normal life. Like I watch, college football games, NFL games, all that. Those stands are filled with people. They have 100,000 people in the damn stadium. They're like, man, get out of here with that bullshit. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
just not. People are just not real. And when Quincy, our son, when he went to Lollapalooza,
Oh, you went to Lollapalooza, they were crowd surfing, like that's the
right,
worst thing.
right. People are like, oh my god, it's a super spreader event. You're all gonna die. It's like
Yeah,
no, and they all lived and
they
they
were
were fine.
pushing each other into the crowd.
Yeah, they were
They
like,
had a
whatever,
fun
man.
time.
Yeah, because people spent. I mean, if you really think, I mean, America spent a whole year giving nothing but complete respect to the Faucis of the world. Like they listened to them, they let them, They gave them a lot of power and allowed them to tell people what to do. People were losing money, people were sitting at home, shutting down their businesses. But then they started seeing the bullshit.
Yeah.
Like if I got a small business and I done shut down my business because I'm trying to respect the pandemic, but you got Target open next to me taking all my damn customers,
Yeah.
Walmart's wide open,
Oh.
McDonald's is out here making a killing. All these companies are making more. Chipotle made more money than they'd ever made before.
Mm-hmm.
And all these small businesses are being told, well, you can't open and you have to social distance and your customers can't come. I would be livid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely livid.
Yeah.
And then the PPP loans come out, and the money goes to all the rich people. All the rich people
The
get the
people who don't need
people
it.
who don't even need the money are getting the PPP loans.
Mhm.
And then the Democrats come with that nonsense where they're like, first they're like, yeah, everyone's dying. Oh my God, the pandemic's so terrible. But then they're like, oh, well, we're holding a big rally and a protest with thousands of people all
We
packed together
we
because
went to one. It was a lot of people there.
yeah, and I'm like, but what happened to the pandemic? What
Yeah.
happened to we're all gonna die?
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, it's a pandemic when it's convenient for you, but then when it's not convenient for you, it's like, yeah, y'all go out in the streets and start, burning buildings down, and we'll say that it's because Trump's a racist, and that's it.
Mhm.
It was just stupid. So I think people started realizing. I think what people started feeling, in my view, is that it was a time where in the middle of that chaos, you take care of yourself. You got to make your own decision. You take care of you and yours, because the government ain't gonna take care of you. They're gonna take care of themselves. Politicians
Mhm.
are gonna take care of themselves. Big pharma is gonna take care of themselves. You know, and I think that's why a lot of people are just living their lives. They're saying, okay, we're gonna live with the risk. I'm gonna take whatever precautions feel comfortable for me, and that's gonna be it. You know,
Mhm.
and you were talking about the mental health aspect. A lot of young people were just miserable.
Yeah, I was telling young people to go out, get out. I was telling them that was my treatment plan. You need to go out, interact with people. Stop staying in the house.
And
Like that was my.
this poor kindergarten is like your first interaction with the school system. You wearing a mask. You can't go play with your friends.
It's gonna be a lot of OCD
So,
having adults.
yes, germaphobe, weirdo, antisocial people.
Yes.
Like we bred and stupid as hell because they weren't learning nothing. Like they like, oh, turn on your Zoom and sit down. Everybody turn on your Zoom, and these little 6-year-olds supposed to really be learning on Zoom. Are you serious right now?
Let me tell you, I was sending kids to school this year. Like they're going to school. That was my stance. I cannot have them in this house. Having
Mm,
them sit in their Zoom with their pajamas on, trying to learn something. It was miserable for all of us at times.
yeah, we were like, okay,
The good thing was that we could travel a little more with everybody, but now I don't even want to travel with anybody.
well,
I'm just like done.
I had fun with the kids actually.
Yeah, we had a good.
It
It
was
was
nice.
yet again another bonding moment for
It
all of
was. It
us.
was a bonding moment where somebody could have got killed, but it was pretty good.
For the most part, we all got along really well, honestly. But
Mm,
there were intense moments where the kids were just tired. Like I don't even think like the our 14-year-old, just the thought of her doing anything online, she gets upset. She's like, whatever it is, I don't want to do it online. She now doesn't
which
want
one?
screen
You talking
time.
about Coco?
Nicole, uh-huh. She
Really?
wants no screen.
You know
She
what?
can't take it anymore.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
She's
think
like, no, I have to do it in person. If
and
I do it online, I can't do it.
and what was interesting is that none of that was taken into account.
Yeah.
Like nobody was really talking about the massive mental health problems, like all the overdoses that were happening. Just
Oh.
and again, it was like one of those things where you're like, okay, let's look at the numbers. How many people are really dying, and what percentage of that is that of the population? Because if I say 600,000, that sounds like a massive number. But what people don't understand is that in a nation of 330 million people, 600,000 is a very tiny number. 1% is 3.3 million. Even 1% means 99% of all people are going to be fine, right? So at that point, you target your response. You have to target those who are most vulnerable. But so 600,000 is not even 1%. That's 1/5 of 1%. So that would mean 99.8% of us are gonna keep on with our lives. And I think that was not even considered. It was like, if you disagree with us, that means you want people to die. I was really happy to see certain people have the courage to say, yeah, we know this risk is out there, but we got to keep living our life. We're not going to play dead because we're scared of dying.
Well, now they have the shot, or can I say, what do I say, the stab? Now they have the stab available for 5-year-olds and up. And it would be really interesting to see if they are going to say children have to have this shot or they can't go to school.
Mm, I think that they
That's
will.
going to be a problem.
I can see that because when they're running out of, like, they used to try to scare us with deaths, right? They would tell you one story about one person who died and everybody gets scared, and people started becoming immune to it. So now a lot of times they'll just report like how many cases there are. There's X thousands of new cases or whatever, and then it's become political. And so I know big pharma, right? Big pharma is fascinating. It's fascinating how they can make so much money and charge you so much money for such mediocre healthcare. Like,
Mm-hmm.
America's healthcare system is not elite on any level,
Mm-hmm.
but the cost is exorbitant. And so I anticipate that they're definitely they have the perfect product. I mean, that shot is the absolute perfect product. It's better than selling crack, because that's why the reason the dope dealers love crack they um was because they had a product that was addictive. Like, the customer had to
Mm-hmm.
keep coming back. This is better than addictive. This is mandated. So imagine you selling crack, and people already are kind of addicted to it because they've been infected with the virus of fear. But then the
Mm-hmm.
government also mandates it. Like, imagine if the government said everybody got to smoke it, you know, and that's what they're doing. They're literally by mandating it, that the government's writing these big massive checks with taxpayer money. So the corporations are like, we have to find some way to keep this gravy train going. So I think it's going to come down to all these booster shots, of course, giving it out to children. They'll probably have some shot that you can give, like, your dog, like that. It's going to be pets eventually. If it isn't there already, there's probably some stuff with pets, because what they're doing is they're taking advantage of the fact that a big percentage of the country has now become germophobic. So then it's like, okay, well, let me sell you this rapid response test. That's another thing too. Those rapid test kits.
Mm-hmm.
They're selling out. They're putting them in the stores. Everybody's buying them.
So I wonder if this is just a big human experiment to find out how far they can push us. It's just a big
Uh,
experiment.
hmm.
Okay, let's just put
hmm.
this out here. Let's just make this super scary and see who's going to fall in line and who's not.
Is it an experiment? I don't
It's
know.
a human
I
experiment.
wouldn't doubt if there was some manipulation happening. Do I think it's done for experimental purposes? That part I don't see. But then again, though, even if it's not an experiment, there are people that are taking notes, right? There
Mm-hmm.
are people that are getting data to understand, human behavior a little bit better. And like Rahm Emanuel always said, you never waste a good crisis. So, all the politicians and the businesses are pivoting to say, how do we benefit from the crisis? But then I think the Chinese government, you remember this all started in China. And I thought it was really fascinating how everyone, kept saying it was racist when Trump called it the Chinese virus. I was like, no, it's just like the Spanish flu. Like, it was. I mean, what? There's nothing racist about calling it the Chinese virus. That's what it was. And and so here's the thing: the virus started in Wuhan, and there was a debate about whether or not it was done artificially or if it was
Made.
naturally,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when the World Health Organization tried to go to Wuhan to investigate, who, like, where the origin was, the Chinese said, "You can't, and we're not going to let you." Right? That just tells me China's on some bullshit.
It is what we just told you.
Right, right.
I
We
just told you
told
what it
you
is.
that the virus came from a bat who
You
been a
don't believe
dog.
me? You don't
Wait,
believe
well, you
me?
calling me a liar now? You calling me a liar, man?
No, you don't need to see nothing over here.
You don't see that
It's
when you
what we
when you
told
start
you.
asking inquisitive questions of somebody who's on some bullshit, who's
And they start getting all
just lying.
defensive.
They're like, "Hey, what you trying to say? You trying to say I'm lying?"
Yeah, I am trying to say you like bingo.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah. So I think China was lying because I watched how they move. I studied. I paid. We admired China to a point. We had our little China tour back in
I'm
2018.
so happy we went to China when we did,
I had a
because
great
there's
time.
no way I go there right
It
now.
was an awesome trip, and we learned a lot. And the thing about that government is that they are very shady and sneaky, and just like ours, our government's the same way.
Hmm.
And it wouldn't surprise me one bit if they were like, okay, if we get the world to kind of shut itself down, that will allow us to make moves. Like during a pandemic like this, some people are sitting and frozen in fear, but the movers and shakers are making moves. Like the billionaires were making moves. Jeff Bezos was like, "I'm not shutting down my factories. I'm gonna disinfect the hell out of them, but we're gonna
Hmm.
keep. We now more than ever. This is
We had got to
Amazon,
keep it
right?
going.
Amazon's chance to make another 2 or 300 billion
Well,
dollars.
maybe Amazon was behind it.
I know, right? They could have been.
Since they got
Well,
since they benefit so much.
during the pandemic, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos made $100 million a day.
Man,
Individual,
that don't
like
make no
in personal,
sense.
their personal income,
That
a
don't
hundred
make no
million dollars a day.
sense. They made that much money.
Yeah,
That makes no sense at
yeah,
all.
because it didn't stop moving. Elon Musk was like, "Close down my factories for what? I'm
We
not close."
still lifting
Yeah,
up
yeah.
into
He was
space.
like, if 99.8% of all people are gonna survive, then I'll disinfect and I'll take care of those who get sick. But I'm not gonna shut down the 99.8% who are gonna be okay.
Well, is he hiring? There's a whole lot of healthcare workers in New York that need
They sure
jobs.
do. They sure do. They need to go
Maybe
down
they
south.
they need to go and get a job with him. So there's gonna be places for these people to go.
Mm,
I think the showdown at the OK Corral with the
mhm.
hospitals and the workers, I think the hospitals are gonna have to cave. I'm putting my money on the workers.
Well, you know what? I don't know who's gonna win, but
Mm-hmm.
I know who I stand with. I stand with the workers, right? I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like this is nonsense, and I think it's unfair. And I personally, and I agree with Dorothea, who says that she could see people in government assistance being mandated to get the jab to get their
Oh
benefits.
my goodness.
Yeah,
And that is something, and what was interesting is that they were saying, well, how about people members of Congress, make them get
and they and they
the
and they they
and they
they
were
didn't
like,
want to do it.
no, we don't
They
want to do
said
that.
no, right? That was interesting, right? So they talk
Yeah.
about this mandate, and then they were like, okay, so what about your staff? And they were like, oh, well, we can't make our staff take it. Well,
Why not? Why
what
can't you make
well,
it?
they do that same nonsense with military.
Yeah.
Michael Moore. He pulled their punk card on military. You remember when he did that movie where he said he was. It was back when the Iraq War, when all these politicians were gung ho about going to war with Iraq. So he went down and found all the politicians who had military age children, and he bought a draft form. And he said, "You voted to send young people to go fight in war in Iraq. You have a son that's 23 years old. Will you fill out the form so that your son can go to the military?" And that people were running away from him.
Now, see, where's Michael Moore? He's so quiet right now. He's got to weigh in on this because he's a really interesting person.
I'm sure he's got
His
something to say about it.
documentaries. He remember we saw the documentary he
Well,
did
Michael
on
Moore, what?
Flint. The
Oh, he did a
documentary.
great job on Flint.
Hmm. The documentary he did about the water crisis in Flint, Michigan.
Oh,
Which,
and he made Obama look real bad in that one.
yeah,
Remember
I
that?
mean, he didn't care.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
talking about
yeah. He
it.
went at Obama big time because
Hmm.
what happened was he kind of exposed how, at least in that particular instance, the Obama administration used the affinity they had from black people to their advantage to
Ooh.
get them to go along with with the nonsense.
And they still haven't replaced those pipes.
Yeah.
And those kids will forever have cognitive delays because of the lead and
Oh,
that
it's
bad
terrible.
water. And there is
It's
nothing
terrible.
like just a little bit, a little bit of lead in your system for in a child's system, it just accumulates and it is just a little bit is toxic. Like it is
Mm,
awful for children and it stays with you for the rest of your life. I think those people need to go to jail. It's criminal.
it's
The people
horrible.
who were behind that.
And think about this, right? They spent what, about $2 trillion fighting this stupid war in Afghanistan just to give
Mm-hmm.
Afghanistan back to the Taliban,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't take any money to get clean water in Flint.
Oh,
They're bringing over 100,000 people from Afghanistan, and but still act like they don't have money to get clean water in Flint. These people are ridiculous. They're absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, they got money for a stab, but they don't have money for clean water in Flint. Like we could just anything could be. You got money for that, but you don't have money for clean water in Flint.
Well, it's
I
really
think every sentence could end with that.
well, it's like what Maya Angelou said when she said, "When people show you who they are, you got to believe them." So I can't. I've seen too much. Like I've seen too much ridiculous behavior where I'm just not gonna believe you when you come and try to tell me
Mm-hmm.
that so and such politician or this Democrat or that Democrat or this Republican or that Republican is gonna make my life better. I've just seen too many examples to show that they just don't care. You know, so it's kind of horrible to watch. You know.
You reminded me of Flint, and I think that I feel bad now because I forgot about it. There's so much other stuff going on that I don't
Hmm.
even think about that it is currently happening right now, and it has been happening since Obama administration through the Trump administration, and still justice hasn't been done.
Yeah, well, it's we have to demand it. I think when we really demand it, it'll happen. But if we don't demand it, then nobody's gonna do anything. But I'll say, my heart goes out to those poor people who are losing their jobs, and I really think this is, I mean, to me, there's never been a more urgent time for our people to learn how to do for self. Like you talk about that stuff like starting your own business and all that. Like the only reason I don't have to deal with this stuff is because I have a business. And
Mm-hmm.
I encourage everybody to see this as this is your calling card. For years, over a decade, I've been repeating to Black people the Black core of three: educate your own children, create your own jobs, support Black businesses. You got to educate your own children so they don't get brainwashed. You've got to create your own jobs so you're not begging for jobs from other people, and you have to support your businesses because everybody boycotts Black businesses. Everybody does, except for the Black people that actually care about other Black people. And so now it's like you have to do that now. You got to get your kids out of school. You have to create your own business. Everybody doesn't. It's not to say everybody has to do this. I will say that the only way you can truly have the liberty that a lot of people want right now is if you find other ways to get what you need.
Well, these systems are hard to keep open right now. They're being taxed, and so it's interesting if these systems are still going to stand.
Mm. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I just hope
Our
that
healthcare system is really in a crisis.
well, I hope nothing else horrible happens between now and the end of the year. I mean, I
We
saw.
can't take another thing.
Well, you know what? I did see something that said that like we're very close to a war with China.
We cannot be in a war. We're
Yeah,
too crippled for a war with China.
over Taiwan. Like Taiwan is the US provides a lot of military support to Taiwan. And the
Ah,
Chinese they just like to gobble shit up. So
they do.
they're like Taiwan is ours. And the Taiwanese are like, no, we don't belong to you. And the United States is backing Taiwan.
Of
And
course.
they believe that that the US and China could go to war over Taiwan. And Taiwan has the only defense they have is what I think they call it the silicon defense because they've got they make a lot of microchips in China. And right now
Mm.
we have the chip shortage.
Yes, we
I mean,
do.
I said China. I meant to say Taiwan. So
Hmm.
Taiwan has a strategic advantage of making like a big chunk of the world's microchips,
Hmm.
and they say that that's why China won't invade Taiwan, is because they don't want to disrupt the supply of microchips.
Oh, well, that's flimsy. That's going to collapse one day.
Well, the China, yeah,
They're going to have another place to go to, and they're going to be like,
oh yeah, yeah,
Taiwan is done for.
yeah. Well, the Chinese they have made it. Both Biden and Xi Jinping, the president of China, have made it national priorities to develop their own microchips, so they don't have to depend on just a few
This
suppliers.
particular.
Yeah, but it's a tough industry because it takes like 5 years and $20 billion to even have a chance to build like a facility that will even function properly. So making microchips is. I read a couple long articles about it. It's really complex and really hard to do. And
Oh,
so there's a
jeez.
small number of companies that have
Was it
invented.
Economist? Didn't
Yeah,
they do
yeah,
it on the Economist? Okay, I love
yeah. I
that
think
magazine.
Samsung and
Mm-hmm.
Intel and a couple other places make chips, and nobody else can really replicate what they're doing. So it's going to be interesting to see. So I'm really curious to see how that all evolves because I can't help but feel like there's more to this pandemic than just
So you
a,
think
a
it's a
bad.
declaration of war?
I think that the virus was like a part of a bigger puzzle. It
Ah,
ain't just like a bat bit a dog who kissed the monkey and
and it got transferred to
yeah,
humans.
next thing you know,
It
millions of
mutated
people
to
getting
humans.
sick. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
think it was some biological warfare. I really believe that, and because a lot of times, or at least maybe a type of biological terrorism. Because
Uh-huh.
with terrorism, you don't have to kill everybody. You just kill a small percentage of people
Was
so that you
definitely
can freeze up everyone else in fear. But go ahead, wait,
it's
sir.
definitely enough to cripple us.
Oh yeah, it broke
I
us
mean,
down.
and not only that, but it's turning us in on ourselves. You got a country
Mm,
divided,
yes.
just like along political lines, for the most part, and we're all just fighting each other. That's how you take us down. That's the war.
You
You just
know,
turn us against each other.
that's really true. That is absolutely true. And I'm gonna tell you that I mean this pandemic showed us that we're like the like half of our country has like no balls.
That's right.
they just I'm like
They're
what if
scared.
we really had like some horrible like something terrible like
Oh.
what was it, the bird flu, was it, I don't know if it was the bird flu or the swine flu. Now just so y'all know, I think it's the swine flu, y'all. If they ever say that the swine flu is spreading throughout America, just know I'm gonna go get like I'm gonna be the first one to get the vaccine. I'm gonna always wear my mask, and I probably won't leave the house.
Oh, Ebola.
Oh,
I
but
don't
don't
want no
talk about
Ebola.
Ebola.
I don't
Ebola,
even want to say that word.
that's a nightmare. Oh my
That's like the
god.
worst way to die
Yeah,
ever.
yeah, Ebola,
It's
swine flu, that stuff. Because I remember looking up the different viruses, and they had them mapped on a chart based on the level of contagion and the and the death rate. And
yeah.
I specifically remember swine flu, if I'm not mistaken, was way up there. I said I don't ever want to mess with that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think that COVID was like highly contagious, but the death rate was really low, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the so what happened in this country. What I saw was you had a big chunk of the country that just said, okay, let's sit frozen in fear, let's not move, let's be scared to death. But then you had some people who were like, I'm not gonna be scared. Like I'm choosing not to be afraid. Like my daddy, my daddy's immune system is so weak that, he could get taken out by a virus even without there being a pandemic, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But he's a soldier, he's a Vietnam veteran, he's a guy he doesn't scare easily. He's like, look, if I'm here, I'm here. If I'm not, I'm not. It is what
Mm-hmm.
it is. And he never got the shot and he's still here, and so I think that there are people out there that have that same mindset. And what happened, like I remember with college football, how like up north, like Ohio State, which is a little bit more liberal, they were like, we shouldn't be playing football at all because of the virus or whatever. But then the rest of Ohio was
Mm-hmm.
like, well, no, we're gonna play football. The NFL was playing, the high schools were playing, and then down south, like Alabama and the SEC, they were like, man, fuck this. No, we are gonna play football. And so they started playing, and what it did was it pressured Ohio State to get back into it, right? So I think that you have some of these individuals that just hold out. They're just like, it is what it is. I'm not scared. It's like living in a bad neighborhood. If you live in the
Mm-hmm.
west side of Chicago, in your neighborhood every day, certain number of people gonna die every day just because there's violence every single day. But that doesn't mean you stay in your house. It doesn't mean you can't go to the grocery store. It doesn't mean you don't live your life. Those people live every day because they know they have no choice but to live.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, any final thoughts?
I think I don't know. I'm out of thoughts about what the state of New York is going to do next. I think that we've made our predictions. I am going to pay close attention to it though, and I
Mm-hmm.
think we need to watch and see what happens there.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know. I mean, I know you're. By the way, everybody, I'm talking to my wife, Alicia, and we're talking about all kinds of stuff. But you can follow her on social media at Coaching with Dr. Alicia, and her website's right there. She's a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. So, and she sees clients and stuff like that. So, if you'd like to know more about what she does, feel free to visit coachingwithdralicia.com. If you could hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe, all that stuff, we'd appreciate it. This is our show called Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia. So I want to make sure you guys know that. One of the last things I wanted to ask you about, actually, out of curiosity, is with this divided country, have you seen any of that, like in terms of your clients, having to deal with the ideological divisions? Like it seems like we have a lot of intolerance where if I'm a Biden supporter and I find out my spouse is a Trump supporter, like I'm gonna be like, I need a new spouse. Like it seems
No,
like
nobody is doing that.
really,
Like,
I see people losing friends over stuff like that.
well, you could lose friends, and I think there's some infighting in some families, but for the most part, I mean, couples got to know where they stand. You don't just want to fall in love and get married and then figure each other out. That's backwards.
Well,
Figure each
but
other out first
but
and
what if
then get together.
what if you got married like in the '90s, right before all this bullshit started happening, right? And then you find out like 15, 20 years later that your spouse is a
You're
Trump
like, who
supporter.
are you? Who did I
Yeah,
marry? This Trump supporter? Uh-uh.
yeah, because it's getting to the point where we're not letting people make their individual decisions anymore. It's getting to the point where people are like, I'm offended because you chose to get the shot and I chose not to,
No,
or
I
whatever.
haven't seen. I've seen couples fight about a whole lot of things, but that hasn't been one of them. Thank goodness.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a whole lot of other things to fight about and differences and all of that. But no, I mean, I've seen couples who have like come together and said this is what we're going to do and this is what we're going to allow, and then other people around them making judgment on it.
Mm. Well, one of the reasons why I really consistently reiterate that we have to be B1, like black first, is because, I kind of want black people, intelligent black people, to rise above the division that's out here. And so because to me, like if we're black first, like if I'm talking to Derek and Beverly and Ned and Bridget, you know, you might be a Democrat, I might be a Republican, or vice versa. You might be, gay, I might be straight. You might be, rich and I could be poor, or educated, uneducated. And my hope is that because we're B1, black first, I
Hmm.
can say, okay, we're black first. Our number one priority is to protect the community and to protect the people we love and to stand up for blackness. And then if your expression of blackness is different from mine, I want to be as tolerant of that as I can possibly be, as opposed to simply saying, I'm not going to rock with you because I'm a Christian, you're a Muslim, and Christians and Muslims don't talk. Like I
Hmm.
don't think that those things, I don't think things like your religion, your sexuality, or whatever should, or gender, or any of that should be the top priority. I think your top priority should be your blackness. That's the, like, we're family,
Hmm.
we're just different, and we're going to work through the differences because at the end of the day, we don't have any allies.
Yeah, so whatever the differences are, I'm just thinking more about couples and families and what's happening inside of homes. Whatever those differences are, this pandemic has made you come to terms with what you're going to do. It's
Yeah.
like you're there with your spouse and you're there with your boyfriend, girlfriend, or whoever, and y'all together in that house. So whatever problems you
Mm.
were avoiding, it's really difficult to avoid it when you're right here with me all the time.
It's going to be interesting, I tell you.
Yeah. So it either so wait, we got married during the pandemic. So clearly it brought
Yes, we
us
did.
closer.
We did, and we had some relatives that were scared to come to the wedding because because we chose to do it. But we went to Texas because I didn't want anything, or I appreciate the fact you accepted my invitation when I said, "Can we go to Texas?" And I thought Texas was perfect because Texas is
Wait,
just,
whose idea was Texas?
well, my parents were already down in Texas.
I
Remember,
thought it was I thought it was my idea.
it might have
No,
been.
let's fight about it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna beat you up about it.
I
It
know
was
it
my
it could be
idea. I
your
don't
idea.
remember whose idea it was, but it just kind of felt like it was our idea. Like we really wanted to do that.
Yeah, like I just, and I'm glad we did it. It was great. It was wonderful, and some people chose, not to be there because of the whole COVID pandemic thing, but there was no super spreader event, nobody at the
Not
wedding,
that we know.
no, right, nobody at
Yeah.
the wedding died, like, and I would have felt terrible if it had
Yeah,
happened,
no.
right?
But
But so I kind of feel like I think sometimes people are having a hard time separating fact from fiction. Like it seems to me, and maybe you could speak to this, but it seems like from a psychological standpoint, there has been a tremendous amount of psychological damage that people have endured as a result of the constant fear that they're being fed in media every day.
oh my goodness. I mean, we think that and it's the randomness of the virus. I mean, I do believe this virus is like super contagious and you don't even know, some of the stories are pretty devastating about how little 4-year-olds are dying, you know. But then again, like someone said on one of the little chats that I'm not giving my child the stab because it's more people who die, more children die from drownings in the bathtub than they do
Yeah.
from COVID. So
Oh, did you know that like some
uh-huh.
outrageously, unbelievably sad number of children die every year from diarrhea?
Yes, they do.
That
And it's usually third world
that kind of messed
countries.
me up. That
It's
was so sad.
third world country. Are
I'm
you
s-
gonna look it up?
yeah, I'm gonna look it up. Can y'all still hear me? Give me a yes if you can still hear me. Let me know if you can still hear me because I'm gonna Google this. Yeah, let me see. Number of children. I'm googling the number of children who die from diarrhea.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's gonna be sad, but I think it's important to just kind of know that sometimes when you focus on one thing, you miss a lot of other things. Okay. 2000. Are y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready for this?
How many children a day? How
Two
many children die a
two
day?
2,195 children per day die from diarrhea. That's more than AIDS, malaria, and measles
Combined.
combined. Holy shit. Um, More than 500,000 children die each year from diarrhea.
Diarrhea, so preventable.
Oh my god. And they're not talking about this
And we
at
don't care
all.
about this.
At all.
No, this is a big
This isn't being brought up
problem.
in media at all. This I mean that and this is the thing.
That's so curable. Why are these children not getting the um treatment?
Because they're poor. Look, check this out. Okay, so I'm reading this
Stop
from
it.
ourworldindata.org. In 2017, almost 1.6 million people died from diarrhea diseases globally. 1.6 million people. This is the real
That is
pandemic, y'all.
absolutely
Think about it. Yeah,
preventable.
absolutely. So this is more than all the deaths and all intentional injuries combined in the same year. Almost 800,000 people died from suicide, 405,000 from homicide, 130,000 in conflict, 26,500 from terrorism. In total, 1.35 million. As the visualization shows, one third of all who died from diarrhea diseases were children under 5 years old. For most of the past 3 decades, under fives have accounted for the majority of deaths from diarrhea diseases. Back in 1990, it killed 1.7 million children. Diarrhea disease was the cause of every 10th child's death in 2017. More than 500,000 of the 5.4 million children that died in 2017 died from diarrhea disease. Diarrhea disease is a third leading cause of child mortality globally, falling just behind pneumonia and preterm birth complications.
Oh my god. One in out of every 10 child deaths is from diarrhea.
That's horrible. I don't know about y'all. This is making me feel like complete shit. I don't. How many of y'all feeling like really bad like about this? But I'm gonna keep reading because I think we need to be aware. So if y'all will join me in allowing me to make us all feel like shit for a couple minutes, I think that we should do this on behalf of these children because you know a lot of these kids are black and brown.
You
Like
know they
they look
are.
like us. So on behalf of our children, I'm gonna let myself feel like crap for a little while. Then I'm gonna go find out where we can go donate some money or something because this is horrible. So, in terms of where these kids are dying, the death rate from diarrhea diseases in many of the poorest countries is higher than 100 annual deaths per 100,000 children. In those countries, see, black countries, in those countries with the worst health, including Madagascar, Chad, and the Central African Republic, the rate is 300 per 100,000. In high income countries, the death rate is very low, of course. In many European countries, but also some rich Asian countries, the rate is below 1 per 100,000. So if you're white and Asian, it's not happening to you. But if you're black, of course, you're dying first. So there's a lot more going on. I'm reading this article on ourworldindata.org, and they said, why are children still dying from diarrhea? There are two main reasons why the number of children dying from diarrhea is so large: the prevalence of diarrhea associated risk factors and lack of access to essential treatment.
Hmm.
Since 1990, we've made a lot of progress, but a lot of kids are dealing with like hunger and malnourishment, extreme poverty, water use and sanitation issues. How can we stop it? Diarrheal diseases are both preventable and treatable, as the
Mm-hmm.
World Health Organization says, because we already know how to deal with many of the risk factors that may lead to diarrhea. And if diarrhea cannot be avoided, we know how to treat it. Um, there's a range of interventions that they list, such as ORS, breastfeeding, and improvements in sanitation, broadly target all causes of diarrhea, whereas vaccination and antibiotics are specifically directed against the causative agents in the disease. Water sanitation and hygiene wash interventions are the best way to prevent diarrhea diseases. Hand washing with soap, better water quality, and better sanitation. Educating mothers about the importance of breastfeeding. Breastfeeding allows for the transfer of maternal immunity to the child. In developing countries, infants that are not breastfed, are 6 times more likely to die from infectious diseases, such as those causing diarrhea. Another way to prevent diarrheal diseases is, healthy jabs. Maybe not this jab, but some of the jabs might be okay. Let me see here. In 2006, there was a new vaccine against rotavirus,
Mm-hmm.
the leading
Mm-hmm.
cause of childhood diarrhea, as the tree map shows. Is that now? Did you hear about the norovirus outbreak in Georgetown? Or
George,
it's like in the
no.
UK, and it's like now in Georgetown's campus. Apparently, it makes you puke and gives it's giving people diarrhea, and it's spreading really fast right now
Right
in
now?
DC.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, so you got a lot of stuff out here to worry
So
about.
we got a lot of things going on that's way more deadly than this current pandemic that we're in.
Hmm.
And the concern is just on this one thing.
Yeah,
So it really does make you kind of wonder.
it's horrible. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and go to bed. Are you ready to go to bed, babe?
Yeah, I am. It's
Okay.
late. It's past our bedtime.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So thank you all for hanging out with us. You can follow Alicia on Instagram at coaching with Dr. Alicia, or coachingwithdralicia.com. That's her website. And hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button on your way out. It was really awesome talking to you on Pillow Talk tonight. And also, if you want to learn about the All Black National Convention, Dr. Alicia and I will both be there, along with a lot of other really great people that are going to be there. You can go to allblacknationalconvention.com, and and we're going to talk about all this stuff. We're going to talk about jabs, and we're talking about health and relationships, and Queen Afua. I was so happy to talk to her about coming. We've got people like Rizza Islam and Akilani Honda and Jeff Lightsey Jr., Constance Carter, who's a real estate mogul in California, Jade Arundel, Tierra KJ Williams from Hollywood, Julian Gordon, a real estate expert, Dr. Latandra Watkins, who's my sister, who's a medical doctor, Nuri Muhammad, Lene Javette, Dr. Charm Timms, Nathaniel Jordan, the Minister of Wellness, and a lot of other really great people. So if you'd like to join us at this big family reunion we're having, we're going to have the B1 ball and speed dating and speed networking and investment clubs and all kinds of stuff. So join us. Go to allblacknationalconvention.com. There is a digital option also, but you won't get the full conference. You'll get the main events and stuff like that. The breakout sessions where the deep dive learning is occurring. We can't live stream that, but we can live stream the main conference. So I hope you guys can come by. And let me see, who is this? What is this? Dorothea says, please talk about Robert Kelly if you haven't
R.
done
Kelly.
already.
We did talk about R. Kelly
Well,
earlier
we talked
today.
about him like privately. We didn't talk about him online. Did we
No,
talk?
we didn't talk about him online.
Yeah, name. Well, I my quick verdict on R. Kelly is this, and I think my wife would agree with me since Dorothea asked about it. That Dorothea's been here the whole time, so sister, because we love you, we're gonna go ahead and honor you and answer that question. Not that everyone else doesn't deserve honor. I love all of y'all, but I saw Dorothea at the beginning, so she's been with us the whole time. Um, with R. Kelly, I felt like R. Kelly needed to go to jail in 2001.
You did. I
Yeah,
remember that way
remember
back.
remember I was like, why are
You were the
people
first one outraged, and I don't remember being
uh,
as mad at R. Kelly as you were.
yeah,
You were like,
I
"Why are
called
we
you.
listening to this
I called
music?"
you and I was like, why do black people still support this dude?
I remember
He's
that.
sleeping with children. Like, that's not cool. And I just figured maybe I was born on the wrong planet. Because everybody else was looking at me like I was crazy. And
That is so true.
so this is a long time
You made
coming.
me feel so bad for listening to him
Well, you know
back
what,
then.
but actually, you know what? So let me just say this. My position has shifted in the sense that I did not like the way we kind of just forgot about his crimes because his music was so good. But now I feel like society has definitely, the reckoning has come, and he's gonna pay a price. I would love to see him get help as opposed to just getting incarceration. I think that we always want to just lock people up for 1,000 years. Where I would really like to see him actually get the help that he needs, so he can maybe be a father and do the things that matter, as a human being. But with that said, though, I also don't think that you have to throw away all your R. Kelly albums, because of what he did as a
Mm.
person. I think his music, and you mentioned this, and I agree with you.
Yeah, we should separate the person from the music.
Yeah, like why can't you enjoy? I mean, R. Kelly's music was damn good.
Yeah, it was.
That man could really
Oh, he's a
sing.
musical genius.
He
He's
was
up there with
he
the.
was one of the greatest talents of all time.
Yeah.
He was right. I mean, he was a notch or two below like a Michael Jackson.
Well, we should do a pillow talk on it, not on this topic.
Yeah, we should. We should. Maybe we could break that down. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
didn't he actually do some work with Michael Jackson?
Yeah, he did work with everybody.
Yeah, like I think R. Kelly. And there's nothing wrong with saying the boy's talented. I mean, why can't you get a man credit for his music? And I this weird thing where we politicize it and we say, well, because
Hmm.
you messed up in this area, we're gonna destroy every good thing you did. Like everything that you've ever done in your life positive, we're gonna act like it never happened because the negative is all that defines you. And I don't think that's right. I think R. Kelly still deserves to be recognized as a great artist. Let the courts deal with his personal life, and that's just is what it is.
Yeah, but I think justice was served.
Yeah,
He needed
yeah.
to be locked up and away from society. And there are no, by the way, there are no known cures for pedophilia. By the way, there's some treatments,
Mm.
that can kind of minimize the harm, but there's nothing known to date that can cure it.
Well, maybe guys like him, you just cut,
Maybe castration.
yeah, just cut his shit off. I mean,
That
that
may work.
make him a eunuch. He'll be singing better. He ain't got no balls. He'll be singing.
you know,
He'll be. He
he'd be
might.
singing a soprano.
Yeah, that. So there we go.
I
Kill
don't
two birds
know.
with one stone. But yeah, I just I don't know. I feel like it seems like that guy just I don't know. I think he reflects what happens. Like I think when a man is given anything he wants, I really believe it can rot and corrupt his soul. And I think it rotted his soul that he was able to constantly feed any indulgence he had without any form of limitation. Like there was nothing
Oof.
stopping him from getting another woman and another whatever he wanted, another drug, another this, another that. And I think that's the trapping of living in a world where there are no limits. Now he's got bars, which is the ultimate limit. Like now he can't even physically move on his own. Like so society has limited him. Whereas for 40 years, nobody limited him.
I heard they had 45 witnesses
Mm,
against him. Like they came down on him with a vengeance. They had 45 people who testified against him. Like that is just,
yeah, yeah, and
yeah.
and then that industry. I agree with Motown House, who says the
Hmm.
industry is a cesspool,
Oh gosh,
and it's
yes.
true. That's the thing with R. Kelly going down. There's a lot of nervous people out there who party with R. Kelly. Remember if you go back 10, 15, about 15 years, it was not
They
stigmatized.
destroying those pictures of them with R. Kelly.
Yeah, yeah. There's a
Trying to.
lot of people that did a lot of
Mhm.
things with R. Kelly that hung out with him. I remember
So we should wrap this up then, and then do
we
a
really
pillow talk on
should
it.
we
Let's
should go
not
back
give our
to it.
good ones away
Yeah, that's
on
so
this
true.
one.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, R. Kelly could be a
We
whole
could
nother
talk about him
conversation.
forever.
I know
Yeah.
they asked us a good question and took us off track. All right, guys. Well, have a good night. And like I said, there's Alicia's Instagram, Culture with Dr. Alicia, and that's her website. So feel free to follow her. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. And God bless you. Have a good night. Please hit the thumbs up button on your way out, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. Goodbye, everyone.